All right, so now we're going to solve problems using system of equations. So this, like I said earlier, is very similar to how we wrote equations to represent situations. So we have two bowling alleys. It says write a system of equations with one equation describing the cost at Bowl-O-Rama and the other describing the cost at bowling pins. For each equation, let X represent the number of games played and Y represent the total of cost. So if we go and we look at Bowl-O-Rama, we have a shoe rental fee of $2 and then a cost per game of $2.50. This per game tells me to multiply, so that $2.50 is going to be my slope or my rate of change. So Bowl-O-Rama is going to start off with y equals 2 5/10 x. Well, then I have this shoe rental fee. That's a one-time rental fee, because when you go to bowl, it doesn't matter how many games you bowl, you're only going to pay for shoes one time. So plus $2. For bowling pins, y equals, okay, this time we have a cost per game of $2, so 2x, and a shoe rental fee of 4, so plus 4. Now before I go any further, I just want to notice some similarities and differences between the two equations. So Bowl-O-Rama has a larger slope. That means it is steeper, it's increasing at a faster rate. But bowling pins has a larger y-intercept, a larger initial value. So you're going to see what that looks like when we graph them. This is Bowl-O-Rama, and I wrote my equations in the next one. It says graph the system to find the solution, verify the solution, and so forth. So let's go ahead and graph. So at 0, let's start with Bowl-O-Rama. I'm going to use red for Bowl-O-Rama and blue for bowling pins. All right, so Bowl-O-Rama, we can see we have a y-intercept of 2. So I can see over here it's counting by 2s. So I'm going to start there. That's my starting point. So even if I don't bowl any games, I still have to pay $2 because I have to get my shoes. All right, so I'm going to go up 2.5 and over 1. An easy way to think about this is just to substitute in the 2. So 2.5 times 2 would give you 5. So I can see for 2 games, that's a $5 plus the $2 will give me 7. It's going to get me about right here. And then for 4 games, well, that's 2.5 times 4. If you want to do that in your calculator, you have your 2.5 times 4 gives you 10, but remember you have to add that 2, so we're up to 12. So for 4 games gets me to 12. And we can kind of see the trend from there. I don't have to continue substituting in. It's just going to give me an estimation. Okay, oh, let me change that to red so we're not confused on which alley we're on. All right, so now let's look at the other bowling alley, bowling pins. This one has a starting value, an intercept of 4. I'm going to start at 4. Now this one, because my slope is a lot easier, is going up 2 over 1. It'll be a lot easier. So I'm going to go up 2. Well, from 4 to 6 is up 2 over 1. Up 2 over 1. Up 2 over 1. Up 2 over 1. Up 2, and so on. Okay. Connect my dots. Now it looks like they're intercepting right here at 4, 12. But we're going to wait to solve a little bit more to see if that's our answer. So the solution is 4, 12. Okay? So if I were to substitute a 4 in for x and a 12 in for y for both equations, they would work out perfectly to give me a true statement. So the solution 4, 12 represents the number of games for which the bowling alley's costs are the same. So at 4 games, I'm spending the exact same amount of money no matter where I went. Now before 4 games, let me go ahead and split that up. So we have right here 4 games. That's where they're equal. Before 4 games over here, I can see that the blue line, or bowling pins, is higher, which means it was more expensive. So bowling pins started off more expensive, then they became equal at 4 games, and then after 4 games, bowling pins is now cheaper. Well, the reason for that is it started off with a higher shoe rental, but because we had a cheaper rate per game, eventually the Bowl-O-Rama ended up being more expensive as I played more games. So at first, bowling pins was more expensive because of the y-intercept, but after 4 games, Bowl-O-Rama was more expensive because of its slope. So this is your homework, okay? Your homework for the first 4, you have a system of equations, you have a graph. So graph them on the equation. Please note the 0.5 on number 1 is 0 and 5/10, not a whole number 5. Just put those in your calculator and graph them and use that to help you graph yours. You need to find the solution for each. So I want to see either a point in x, y format, or I want to see the word no solution, or I want to see the words infinitely many solutions. So those are the kind of answers that I'm looking for on numbers 1 through 4. On the back, you have more word problems. So this is very similar to the Bowl-O-Rama one that we did. So you have option 1 and option 2, you have setup fees, and you have cost per month. Just go through, write the equations, use those to help you solve the situation. But it says, I want to know in how many months will the total cost for both options be the same? Well, that means you're going to set them equal to each other. Well, for that number of months, I want to know what is that actual cost. So in how long will they be the same and at what cost? So if you plan to cancel your service after a certain amount of time, which one will be the cheaper? So after 9 months, so like 10 months or 11 months or so on. And then you have some multiple choice. So this one is just talking about just different solutions. You have a system right there. Notice that on number 7, it is not in slope-intercept form. So if you plan to use the graphing method or the calculator, you'll have to put it in slope-intercept form or substitute your given solutions. And then finally on number 8, there are 4 lines, but that's okay. A system can be at least 2 lines. So basically you're just looking for any of these points that would be a solution. So you're looking for any intersection, so any of these points. Now I'll give you a tip. Be very careful of the scale of what it's counting by. Notice that I start at 0, but then over here it jumps to 4, and I got all these 4 little marks in between. So be careful when you're doing your answer on number 8. If you have any questions, please come see me or Ms. Morton in the morning before your test.